Um, Today, we are going to have a little bit of a longer lesson than normal. And one of the ways that I'll often come up with what I'm going to cover on Monday Morning Mojo is, where do I find myself consistently repeating the same message? And, in today's world, the market that we're in, it doesn't really matter if you're on the buyer side or the listing side. There are challenges that we're all facing here. And so today, what I wanted to offer you guys up is kind of a perspective on how to win the listing side and then how to win the buyer side. And so we're going to start with the listing side and then we'll transition to the buyer side. But a lot of what I want you to first understand is that we should all be reading and looking through as a team, one book, which is this one, Shift. And the thing about it is when you're reading this book today, all you need to do is every time you see the word buyer, put in the word seller. And anytime you've seen the word seller, put in the word buyer. But I've been going through this kind of one chapter a week, and I've noticed that a lot of the information is very, very pertinent to today. And yet I don't find very many people that are utilizing this as a resource right now. And I recommend getting the leadership edition. I have that for the MREA and the MREI too. And it's just a much easier way to navigate the book. And what's interesting is we live in this world of what I call a lot of knowledge, but not a lot of wisdom. And if somebody were to come to you and ask you the difference, what's the difference between knowledge and wisdom? I don't know that a lot of people have a good answer for that. But here's what it really boils down to. Knowledge is just something you know. Wisdom is something you live. So I may know how to do push-ups. I may know how to go for a run, but I am not wise to it unless I actually do those things. And if there's one thing that I've noticed as a coach over the last 7 years, we have some of the most knowledgeable agents in the industry who are very unwise. Like the number of times I've taken on a new client and I'll say, walk me through your 36 touch. And I'm met with, oh yeah, I know about the 36 touch. I know that. It's like, I know that you know about it, but do you live it? And so there's a lot of things happening in today's market that you guys have knowledge to. This is one of the most knowledgeable groups in the entire real estate sales force. But I'm going to ask you to start really thinking about, what am I wise to? Because if you're not living it, then you don't get to tell me that it doesn't work. Okay, from this moment moving forward. So first we said we're going to start with the listing side, but here's what I'm noticing, you guys. There are three things happening with agents today. So the first one is they're getting out hustled. The second one is they're getting out skilled. And the third one, they're getting out Moford. And Moford stands for making offers for instant response. So I'm noticing three things as it relates to this wisdom thing. They're getting out hustled, they're getting out skilled, and they're getting out Moford. And so what I want to do today is walk you through some very tactical things that you can be doing. And like I had mentioned, we're going to start on the listing side of the business. And I think if you're a listing agent or you are a rainmaker, that there are some questions that you need to be asking and answering yourself. And here's what I came up with here. So the first one is, what is the definition? What is our definition of a listing lead? Now, I'll cover with you what I believe a listing lead is, but we need to get all into agreement on that. The second one is, what is my monthly listings signed goal? What is my monthly listings signed goal? Now, that could be you or the organization, right? Number three, how many leads do I need to hit my goal? So based upon what our definition of a lead is and what our goal of signed listing leads is, how many do we need to hit the goal? Number four, where is my listing pipeline and how is it rated? So I'll explain what that means in a little bit. And then ultimately, where will I generate the leads from? So we're going to start with what the definition of a lead is. Now, on the seller side of the business, I think that listing leads have three criteria. The first one is we've identified the intent to sell within the next 6 months. So these are people that, if we're looking at the date, it's February 7th, 2022, that they are going to be signing a listing agreement between now and roughly August 7th. Number two, we've qualified motivation. So qualifying motivation means we have asked and answered the 6 connecting questions from Shift. Here are the 6 connecting questions. Who are they? What do they want or need to do? Where do they want to or need to do it? Why do they want to need or do it? When do they want to need to do it? And how do they plan to do it? This is on page 95. But really, we're digging in and truly understanding what is the driving force behind this decision. And then lastly, we have permission to stay in touch. So that means that if we've spoken with this person, they didn't say something like, hey, we'll call you when we're ready. That you've gotten the agreement that you're going to stay in touch with them over the course of the next few months as they make the decision, right? Now, all of this translates directly to the buyer side, except instead of listing in 6 months or within 6 months, they're going to purchase, okay? So that's the definition of a listing lead or a buyer lead that I would encourage you to start adopting within your organizations if you haven't already. And I know for some of you, this is deep repeat. So just hang on, I'll get into some other pieces here. But anytime you want to move an organization forward, the first thing you need to do is get everyone speaking the same language. That's what the MREA did for Keller Williams, because I saw Josh Anderson, I can say to Josh, hey, Josh, I want to 7th level my team. I'm going to do it through a database using a really strong 36 touch in the next 5 years. And he knows exactly what I'm talking about. He knows exactly what I mean by every sentence I just said. Now, if I were to say that to somebody who works at Remax, they would look at me like, what the hell are you even talking about? So the reason it's so important for everyone to operate off of the same definition is because if we're all speaking the same language, that creates alignment. The more aligned you are, the faster you can ultimately drive. Think of it like a car. You can drive a car with a wheel that's out of alignment at 10 or 15 miles an hour, but if you get up to, 30, 40, 50, 60 miles an hour, the misalignment will shake the car apart. Same thing with organizations. That's why you've got to have the same language, okay? So once we have the definition of a lead, then we go into the listing distribution center, which is the pipeline, right? Now, when I said that we wanted the pipeline to be rated a particular way, many of you use Brivity. And this is the way, if you use Brivity, and if you don't, then that's fine. Just understand you can set up a tagging system in your CRM that has the same definitions, but this is what I would encourage you to use. So a hot, let's just stick with listings, is this month. So that means they're going to sign a listing agreement in February, not 0 to 30 days. The whole 0 to 30, 31 to 60, 61 to 90, you need to drop that shit and focus on this month. And then next month, right, is a watch. And then a nurture is 2+ months. So what I'm always wanting to look at is, from a listing lead perspective, if we're going to win this game, how many listing leads do we have this month, hots? How many listing leads do we have for next month, watches? And that will paint a really great picture. Now, here's the thing. I mentioned earlier that one of the things or questions you need to ask is, what's our listing sign goal? And I'm just going to use a very easy example here. If your listing sign goal is 10, meaning in the month of February, you owe your business 10 signed listings, then the number of listing leads that you need identified and qualified for this month is 20. So whatever your number is, right? If you need 10 signed, you need 20 hots. And this is the way that you can win the listing game, even in a low inventory market. And it's funny, the people who follow this, like I had a conversation with Laura Hyatt's team last Monday. They took just as many listings in January of this year than they did of last year, even though inventory has gone down by, I think it was like 37% or something like that. Because we're not trying to hunt and kill all in the same month. You've got to think of it like you're a gardener. So if we're looking to win the listing game, then really get scientific with the pipeline. And every time we roll into a new month, whatever the listing sign goal is, we need twice as many people who fit the definition of a listing lead on your pipeline tagged properly. And if you play this game, I promise you, you'll win. If not, then it's always going to feel like blood and guts in a low inventory market. Now, a couple of things that I had mentioned earlier about, what are some, where could we find the pipeline or the listings? I know people are not big on for sale by owners. I get it. But some of us were just getting out mofered there, meaning you're still using the same messages with buy owners that you were using in a soft seller's market or a balanced or buyer's market. And one thing that we've started to see get some progress is calling buy owners and offering them a 10-day marketing blitz. And rather than telling them their house is never going to sell, you say something like, look, it's not a matter of if, it's when. Your house will sell. The challenge that a lot of buy owners have is that they don't actually get multiple offers, so they leave money on the table when they sell. So we've created a system that would allow you the best of both worlds. We'll come out, list your home. We're only going to sign a 10-day listing agreement. We'll do all the things that we do to market a property. And if we don't bring you an offer that nets you what you want, we'll pack up, we'll get all of our stuff. You can keep the professional photos for your time, and we'll move on. And that's a really great message of the market or message of the moment that you could use with buy owners right now. Same thing with for rent buy owners, people who have property for rent that are not using property management companies. You can pull these up on Zillow right now, call them up and ask them, what price would you need to get in order to sell this property instead of rent it? That's it. And if they say, nope, never doing it, blah, blah, blah. Well, oftentimes I find if one person owns a single property or investment property, they have others. Do you have any others where the lease is getting ready to end that you would consider selling versus renting? That's super easy. And they advertise their phone numbers on Zillow and all the other rental websites that are available in your area. Your database, calling everyone in your database with a very simple message. Everyone has a next move date. I'm just curious if 2022 is when your next move date will occur. That's it. And see, this is where that whole conversation about knowledge and wisdom shows up, because I talk to a lot. Oh yeah, I know about for sale by owners. Oh yeah, I know about for rents. I know about blah, blah, blah. Okay, how many did you talk to last week? Well, none. Okay, so does that mean that there were none in your market? Well, no. Okay, so you know about it, but you're not wise to it. You're getting out hustled. You need to be checking that every single day. Now, if we go to the buyer side of the business, here are the questions that you need to be asking and answering. Number one, what does ready, willing, and able mean? If I were to interview every single one of you and ask you individually, what does ready, willing, and able mean? Would you be able to answer that? Number two, what is our weekly under contract goal? So if you're working with a lot of buyers, how many do you need to get under contract every single week? Number three, who gets my time, attention, and showing time first? So when we're looking at that number we need to get under contract, who are the people based upon, if I need 4 under contract, who are the people that are most likely to go under contract, not whoever wants to go look at homes or has one pop up in the MLS. And then lastly, what is our written to accepted percentage? Now, Kate Conroy, 2021, in one of the hottest markets in all of Tampa, put 155 buyers with Amy and Heidi and Lori helping her, put 155 buyers under contract. And this was largely the formula that we used. So narrowing it down, how many contracts or how many do we need each month or each week? And then who are the most likely suspects based off of those people? So let's just talk for a second about ready, willing, and able. So ready means personal reasons. That means that they have a why to move. And what you'll find is that all of these reasons are either vitamin or aspirin. Vitamin is life enhancing. She's pregnant. We're getting married. I got a new job. So we're happy. It's a happy move. Aspirin is pain ending. We're getting divorced. Somebody died. We have too much debt. That's a pain ending move, aspirin. Then you get into willingness. Willingness is understanding the market expectations. If you have a buyer come to you and say, yeah, every time I buy a house, I offer $10,000 under the list price. It's like, cool, man, have a great time, because I'm not going to show you any houses. That won't do anything in this market. And then number 3 is ability, capital or access to capital so that they can compete in today's market. Now, you guys, back in 2008, 2009, in 2009, our team went from 100 sales to 200 in the worst real estate market in the history of any of us being alive. And the reason was, is we walked into listing appointments armed with this question: are you a want to or a have to? If you're a want to, you need to stay here, because buyers are singing the tune. You don't want to dance to it. They're going to ask for closing costs and everything under the sun, and you're going to take a lot less money than you think. And if you're not a have to, you won't have the guts to stomach it. Just stay here and wait for the market to cycle out. If you're a have to, this is what you're going to have to do. And I know that you're not having those conversations with buyers. I know that you're not explaining it to them in that way. And see, there's a principle I learned early on in coaching: don't hurt the ones you can help by focusing on the ones you can't. And you are helping buyers right now that you're not going to be able to help, and hurting the ones that you can, because you're giving them your time, energy, and resources. I get that this is a little callous. I understand that. But quit showing want tos. Work with the have tos. And here's the perspective, you guys, that I would give you on working with buyers right now is, imagine that the buyers came to you and said, I want to prepay you for the commission to find me a home. Like, let's just say your average commission is $10,000. Buyer walks in and says, here's a check for 10 grand. Find me a house. But if you don't find me one in 7 days, I want a refund. Now, most of you are looking in the MLS vending machine. What are the other vending machines? What are the other tactics? What are the things that you would employ to keep that 10 grand, to get that person a home? What is it that you're not doing now that you would start doing then? And that's just a really fun perspective. It's a way to really think about it. But here's the thing that I'm finding that's happening time and time again. This is the quote from Gary, page 81 in the MREA. If I've learned anything in life, it's that if you believe something is possible, you tend to focus on the constructive means necessary to make that possibility a reality. I've also learned the opposite. If you don't think something is possible, you'll be blinded to the ways it could be done. It's a self-imposed blind spot. Don't be blind to the opportunities in this market. Understand that there's plenty for you and your team to hit your goals. You just have to out hustle, out skill, and out mofer the competition. You've got to get wise and focus on the fundamentals. You will freaking win. But if you're sitting around complaining, here's the thing I know about complaining. If you ask my 6-year-old to tell you about complaining, she would say you shouldn't complain, because when you do, no one wants to help you. So understand it's 100% possible for you to hit your listing, your buyer goals. Just be intentional, get focused. And however I can help you do that, then let me know, because I'm here as a resource, a guide, a coach, whatever you need to win in this market, but I know we can do it.